Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
The scoreboard doesn't really show how the game went. And we did not play well. There was a lot of busted assignments, a lot of middle errors that we just can't afford to make later on during the season.
It was a tough game, and we didn't come out and we didn't play our football we needed to play.
We were happy with the win, but the way we played and the mistakes that we made were unacceptable from us.
A lot of frustration for Alabama, even after beating Western Kentucky by 4 touchdowns on Saturday. Good evening, everybody, and welcome into Tider Insider TV. Alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com, I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris. Our program brought to you each and every week by Buffalo Rock, makers of fine Pepsi products and distributors of fine Pepsi products like Pepsi Max, which is 0 sugar, but a little added boost of Pepsi taste. I like that. Full flavor, get you going. Well, Rodney, it was pretty much unanimous from every player that we talked to following the game on Saturday, including not just the players but the head coach. Alabama did not play well in its home opener on Saturday, despite the score, 38-10. But O.J. Howard does see a silver lining.
Glad it happened early in the season. It's a wake-up call for us. I think it's a learning experience for us, and I'm glad it happened early and not late in the season.
Well, the Crimson Tide is 2-0 and still ranked number 1 in the latest AP poll. Bama's outscored its opponents by 74 points in the 2 games. So, Rodney, is there reason for this much concern and frustration? And did this serve as a wake-up call for future games against tougher opponents?
Well, I think we see this about every year, don't we? In the second game, it seems like, especially when you come off a marquee opener, when they play really well, I think sometimes in the second game it doesn't go as well. I think this is not something that we didn't expect or talk about last week about the possibilities, and then we had heard how Alabama maybe didn't have its best week of practices. So I don't think this was totally unexpected. Doesn't mean it's acceptable, but it does happen, and I think it's a great opportunity for them to learn from a lot of their mistakes that they made, so as they do move forward, that they're more focused.
Well, let's be clear. It was an easy win over a pretty good opponent. It was 38-3 late, but even Western Kentucky's touchdown came after an Alabama snafu. There were penalties, a lot of them. There were drop balls. There was a big 65-yard reception down to the 1-yard line by our Darius Stewart, brought back because of a holding call. It was certainly enough that even though the score was lopsided, it just wasn't a sharp performance by Alabama.
Well, it's hard to be sharp every week. First of all, I mean, it's difficult. It's a long season. We watch season in, season out, and you just can't play at your peak every single game. You certainly would like to. That's the goal. Certainly not trying to make an excuse, but when you are sandwiched in between USC and Ole Miss, it is a difficult situation to get that same kind of performance in that type of game.
Well, we're certainly going to talk a lot about Ole Miss, that's for sure. But after the Western Kentucky game, Coach Saban put a lot of blame on the offense, and specifically put some heat on offensive coordinator Lane Kiffin. Just the day before, Kiffin was awarded a pay raise by the university's Board of Trustees. But then on Saturday, he got an earful from the head coach, and it was caught on tape. In Saban's postgame press conference, he was asked about the offense's inability to finish off the game.
Really disappointed that we couldn't go finish the game on offense at the end of the game. Fumble the ball and give it back to the team when you're just trying to take the air out of the ball. It's bad ball. It's bad football. And it's not the kind of football we want to play here, and it's not the kind of football team we want to have. And I don't know that I've ever been this disappointed after winning a game, maybe ever.
And here it is. This is some great video that we've got of Saban giving Kiffin an earful, and anybody that was in shouting distance. And Rodney, it was caught on the television broadcast as well, and a lot of people in our business this week have been making much of this. We've seen Saban blow it before, but it's a very politically correct society that we live in now. Did Saban cross the line? Was he out of line getting on Lane Kiffin the way that he did during that game?
Well, I mean, by his actions and so forth that you see there, we see this all the time. I mean, I don't find it anything unusual. For years, if you watch the sideline, you see a head coach coaching up his coaches, so to speak. And I think he was setting the tone for the future, what they want to do, how they want to run in that particular situation, how they want to handle it. And I think it's always important for the coach to, make his point known. And I don't see where that's crossing the line one bit.
A head football coach yelling at an assistant or a player. that's been going on for years. It's just recently. And I'm not kissing up to Saban, but this is what we saw from coaches throughout the years. I've seen Coach Bryant on video giving Mal Moore an earful many a times.
Ken Donahue as well.
It's just part of the game. But a lot of people hung up over it. I think Kiffin handled it well. Well, still to come on Tider Insider TV, we'll break down Alabama's next opponent, the last opponent to deliver the Crimson Tide a loss. Hear why Hugh Freeze thinks this year isn't anything like the last two, though. And coming up, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. As always, you can reach us at 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Or email us at TITV@WVUA23.com. And you can also reach us on Twitter using the hashtag TITV if that's easier for you. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, and we've been doing it for a long time. Tider Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock, will return right after this timeout.
I don't feel like we have no chip on our shoulder. I mean, our season isn't defined by one game. So, I mean, we're just excited. I mean, they're the next team on our schedule, so they're the next team that has to get it.
I think creating a bunch of anxiety with players is not the best way to go when it comes to being able to perform well. And I think that we were pretty anxious in the game last year, and it sure didn't help us play very well.
No, it did not. Coach Saban says that last year's performance at Bryant-Denny Stadium was one of the worst Alabama has had in his career, and it was the Crimson Tide's only loss of the season. Of course, the Rebels are intent on handing Alabama a third straight loss, but Coach Saban, Rodney, as you know, has never lost 3 straight games to a team in his time in the SEC, either with Alabama or LSU. Let's talk about what it will take for the Tide to avoid a third straight loss to the Rebels this Saturday in Oxford.
Well, first of all, can we just get through a kickoff without fumbling it?
That would help.
I think that's a key. I think you remember last year, Alabama turned the ball over 5 times. The year before, they had a few turnovers as well. And, you know, in 2 games against Ole Miss, they fumbled the kickoffs. They fumbled 3 kickoffs.
Yeah.
And so I think you have to get off to a good start for one thing. And I think another thing, Gary, I think you have to pressure Chad Kelly. I'm sorry. You have to keep him on the move.
Pressure enough that he thinks his name is Todd.
Well, you know, they did Florida State did an outstanding job in the late in the first half, early in the second half, and so forth in that game of getting him out of rhythm. I think that's the key. DeMarcus Walker here had a big night against Kelly, but there you see him delivering the throw. Evan Ingram is a sensational tight end. He can do it all. I think he's another key. Alabama's got to limit him a little bit in the pass game, and here you go with those run-pass options that they get so confusing with, and Kelly is so good at. I think it's a difficult offense to defend, but you know, Gary, if you can keep him on the bench, keep Kelly on the bench, it's a lot easier. So I think Alabama really needs to set the tempo in this game, establish the running game, keep the ball away from Ole Miss as much as possible.
You know, Rodney, here's the deal. In my opinion, Ole Miss has played Alabama tough since Freeze got here, even 2012, 2013. They lost both of those games, but they played hard against Alabama. They played physical. 2014, they found a way to win it, and then last year, the 5 turnovers. You know, it kind of depends on your perspective. If you're an Ole Miss fan, you're saying, we made plays. We forced those turnovers. If you're Alabama, you're saying, my goodness, just what you said. If we don't turn it over 8 times in the last 2 games, there's no way they can beat us because those were 6-point losses, both of them. So I see it both ways. If Ole Miss forces turnovers and Alabama puts it on the ground again or throws it away, they're going to get beat. But if they take care of the ball and they don't turn it over 3 times or 5 times, they're the better team. They're going to win the game.
And I'll tell you another thing. I'm ready to see Alabama be more physical than Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Because I think, be honest with you, since 2012, Hugh Freeze has done a fantastic job coming in, playing Alabama. They're not intimidated. They've been aggressive. They've played fast. They've played confident. And let's be honest, they've out-hit Alabama in most of these games. So I think that, for whatever reason, they've done that. But I think we're going to see a different Alabama defense this particular game.
Yeah, as I say, you got to get nasty with a nasty.
Right.
All right, speaking of Hugh Freeze, he met with reporters yesterday as well, and he said this Alabama team is a little bit different than the ones the Rebels beat in 2014 and 2015.
They're just as talented as any group they've had, maybe a little quicker twitched, and very, very well coached, know exactly. They understand down and distance football. They understand assignment football, and you combine that with the fact that they're some of the best recruits in the country. It's a tall task for any offense.
Well, Alabama will have another crop of top recruits coming in next year, and it's a class that will likely be led by Tua Tagovailoa. Gosh, I struggle with that, even though I know how to say it. Wait until you see what Tua did in his high school game on Friday in Hawaii. We'll have highlights from that. And up next, we'll be taking your phone calls, emails, and tweets. You see the information right there on the screen. Give us a call or email us or reach us on Twitter using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV will return right after this with Tua Tagovailoa. Stay with us. Well, if you think Alabama's quarterback situation is unsettled this year, wait until next year. That's when Hawaii dual threat quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, I got it, enters the program, and he is good, really good. In his high school game on Friday, Tagovailoa had 9 total touchdowns in a 20-point win over Punahou High School. That's where President Obama went. The Bama commitment had 447 passing yards and 104 rushing yards with those 9 touchdowns. Welcome back into TITV. Rodney, real quickly before we go to the phone lines, Tua Tagovailoa is something special.
He really is. I mean, he went out to the Elite 11 and was fantastic out there in the opening, Gary. And I think really as talented as he is, the things that he can do physically, throwing the football especially, and he is a good, solid runner. But I think it's his leadership that really sets him apart from a lot of the other high school quarterbacks.
Absolutely. Going to be fun watching him. All right, let's go to the phone lines and welcome in Leroy and Coker. First up on the show tonight. How are you, Leroy?
Tua Tagovailoa is something special.
All right, turn that TV down. Leroy, we got you on a delay there, brother. What's up?
Yes, I was wondering about the offensive line. They didn't show me too much, and also the running back, they don't seem to be able to run the ball. And Jalen Hurts pausing too far before he can get rid of the ball. They're going to have to do better than that. They're going to have to learn to run the ball, or they're going to lose a lot of ball games, look to me like.
All right, Leroy, I don't think they're going to lose a lot of ball games under any circumstances. But, yeah, there's some room for improvement there in the areas you mentioned. Offensive line still trying to build some continuity with their big, young, strong group. Hurts does need to get the ball out a little quicker, and I do think they'll try to establish more of a running game against Ole Miss. But I think they're capable of all those things.
Well, first of all, you have to remember, they've got 4 basically new faces because Pierce Baker changed positions. So, you know, when you don't have that unity and cohesiveness on the offensive line, it takes some time, Leroy. And I think, you know, right now it's a little premature to kind of expect too much out of them. And I remember 2012 when they had all those great players up front offensively. And in the second game, they gave up 6 sacks, I think it was, to Western Kentucky. So, again, I just think it's a matter of getting into rhythm and creating some unity and cohesiveness. You know, they're talented at the running back spot. I think Jalen Hurts is going to be a fantastic quarterback. Again, you have to remember, he's played less than 2 games on this level. He's still trying to adjust to the speed of the game. And I think when he does, he's going to really, you know, do some fantastic things. And he's already gotten off to a really good start.
All right, Leroy, thanks for the call. Let's go to Cottondale and talk to Gerald. Gerald, welcome into the program.
Hey, how you fellas doing?
Doing well, Gerald.
I just wanted to check in on Chad Kelly. Chad Kelly's gonna get his ears tore off, I think, this Saturday.
Gonna get his bell rung, huh?
Yeah, I believe so. You know, I watched all that Florida State game, and Florida State worked him over pretty good in the second half. But Alabama gonna get him for the first half.
Well, I'll tell you this, Gerald. You get pressure on quarterbacks, it makes them uncomfortable. I don't care how talented they are. He is prone to make big plays. He's also prone to make mistakes from time to time. We saw it against Florida State in the first ball game of the year. Yeah, pressure. It's a defense's best friend, and they do need to get pressure on Chad Kelly because if you do give him time, he can throw it. He'll find receivers.
Yeah. And I think Alabama, when you look at their defensive front, I think they're more gifted up front than Florida State in terms of the pass rush. You got, you know, Ryan Anderson, you got Tim Williams, you got Jonathan Allen, who's been just an absolute beast so far this year. Dalvin Tomlinson does a fantastic job. And I think, you know, when you look at what Alabama can do with the pass rush, I think they're certainly capable of getting a lot of pressure on Chad Kelly. And I really don't know that the Ole Miss offensive line, Gary, is what they have been.
All right, we shall see. All right, let's take an email, Rodney, and this one comes to us from Ira in Northport. What's the total number of freshmen who played against USC? Well, there were 10 true freshmen and 5 redshirt freshmen. So really there was a lot of guys that we saw out there, new faces, Rodney, that bode well for the future.
Really does. I mean, when you look at the right tackle spot, Jonah Williams started his first game as a true freshman. How often does that happen, especially for an offensive lineman? I think Cam Robinson may be the only one since Nick Saban's been here that started as a true freshman on the offensive line at that tackle spot. So, you know, they played a lot of guys, and I think they played 5 redshirt freshmen as well, Gary. So we've talked about that this is, in my opinion, when you look at it just from this perspective early on, this is a recruiting class that looks like it's got a chance to be really, really good.
Yeah, the true freshmen that played: Jonah Williams, Miller Forrestall, Jared Maiden, Jalen Hurts, Javon Diggs, T.J. Simmons, B.J. Emmons, Aaron Robinson, Terrell Hall, Joshua Jacobs. All right, still to come, the Alabama baseball team opened fall practice this week. We'll hear why this team will look a lot different this season, for a number of reasons, under new head coach Greg Goff. And coming up, more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, there's the information on your screen. You can interact with Tider Insider TV right now on the phone, through email, or on Twitter. Go ahead and give us a call. We'll be back with more right after this. New Bama baseball coach Greg Goff out on the field on Monday. Fall practice is underway. Coach Goff has been very complimentary of his predecessor, Mitch Gaspard, but he's looking to make some changes with his team, and one of those changes is in their appearance. All of his players have to shave their facial hair, similar to what's required of the New York Yankees. No beards, no goatees, just clean-shaven look.
I just think in everything that you have to succeed in life, it takes some discipline, you know, and, you know, I think Coach Bowder wouldn't want me to be walking around with looking very good, and not that the facial hair is a problem. I'm an old Yankees fan, and you know, haircut needs to be nice, and shave every other day, and sit in the first 2 rows of the classroom, no hats as we walk into the classrooms. I just want our guys to be respectful.
For me personally, it's the facial hair thing, just because I took such pride in my goatee last year. But nothing that's like nothing that we can't do.
You don't see that too much.
Yeah.
Anymore.
You know, Alabama football players under Coach Bryant couldn't have mustaches, goatees, and so forth.
Yeah. Things change, though.
They couldn't wear bandanas either.
That's right. All right, let's go back to the phone lines and talk to CB right here in Tuscaloosa. What's up, CB?
Hey, man, how y'all doing?
Very well.
Some of them need haircuts now, but anyhow, you know, we've been spoiled around here. Gentlemen with great running backs, and how deep are we at running back? Which one do you think is going to jump out there and shine and sooner than later here in this SEC, buddy?
Well, I think that's a good question, CB. I think when you look at Alabama right now, there was a lot of concern about the depth at the running back position, but Damian Harris had a really good game against USC, had a couple of long runs. I think Bo Scarborough, I still think he's one of the more talented players in the country at that position in terms of just all the gifts that he has. He's not really developed into a running back yet, but I think he has all those gifts. And I think you look at the 2 freshmen, B.J. Emmons, I think there's a lot of high hopes for both B.J. and Joshua Jacobs. Both those guys are really talented. They've played this year already, Gary. B.J. scored his first touchdown against Western Kentucky, and I think they're very solid. So which one jumps out? I'm not really sure. It would be good if one would, but, you know, they like to play at least 2, so they need that tandem, CB, and hopefully we'll start to see that develop this Saturday.
All right, let's go over to Bessemer and talk with our buddy John. John, what's up, man?
Gifts that he has is not really developed into a...
John, you're on. Turn that TV down. John, you with us? Go ahead. John. All right, wanted to, I guess, get your thoughts on Bama versus Ole Miss.
Well, John from Bessemer?
Yeah.
Probably want to know if they were going to go undefeated this year.
He usually asks that,
well,
yeah.
John, I think it's a typical Alabama-Ole Miss game. One of the stats that really caught my attention, Gary, do you know this is the 6th straight year that Alabama has gone into this Ole Miss game either ranked number 1 or number 2? Isn't that amazing?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it always brings out the best in Ole Miss. I really do. I think since Hugh Freeze has been there, I think this has been the game. This has been their focal point of their season. And I think it's certainly, when you look at it, it's kind of what's helped their program, you know, start elevating.
Yeah, thanks for the phone calls and the emails. A reminder, when you're calling in, we are on a little bit of a delay, so if you're listening to the TV, it's going to throw you off. Just give you a heads up on that. Well, still to come, Blake Sims signs his first NFL contract, and it's not as a quarterback. We'll have the details coming up. Plus, Rodney and I will make our Ole Miss game picks. You'll want to stay tuned to see what we think will happen on Saturday. More Tider Insider TV will return right after this. The Atlanta Falcons signed former Crimson Tide quarterback Blake Sims to their practice squad today to play running back, and it's not unusual for him. He played some running back at Alabama, played some in the secondary, of course wound up as a record-setting quarterback, but good for Blake. And hopefully he'll do well with the Falcons practice squad and maybe get to move up to the regular roster at some point. All right, Rodney, it's time now for our game picks. Alabama and Ole Miss on Saturday afternoon in Oxford. Take it away.
Well, big game, Gary. Alabama needs to get this one off their back, so to speak. They've lost 2 in a row to Ole Miss, and I think really some of the keys to this game, I think defensively, Alabama has to really come out and get after Chad Kelly and keep him on the run. I think when you look at what Alabama has up front defensively, they can do that. Florida State did it earlier this year, and I think Alabama's, as I said earlier, I think they can get a lot of pressure on Chad Kelly. If they can do that and get him out of rhythm, I think that's one of the keys. Offensively, I really think Alabama needs to set the tone, running the football a little bit, take some of the pressure off the freshman quarterback Jalen Hurts. If they can do that, I think then they can be successful with Hurts throwing the ball. And if they do those things, Gary, I think Alabama's the better football team. 38-21.
All right, Rodney, 38-21 is how you'll pick it, and I'm nervous because I'm nervous just about before every game. But Ole Miss has had a formula the last couple of years. As you mentioned earlier, Rodney, they played Alabama tough, physical, gotten after them, forced turnovers, and put themselves in a position to pull the upset 2 straight years. But the third time will not be a charm for the Rebels. They won't get a third straight victory. They're going to play tough. They're going to play hard. But Alabama just has to take care of the football. And they're better than Ole Miss. They'll win the game. I like it 31-17. The Crimson Tide wins it, and Nick Saban remains unbeaten in 3 straight games. In other words, he's never lost 3 straight games to a particular team. That'll continue. All right, as always, our shirts and ties provided by the Locker Room, downtown Tuscaloosa, home of the original elephant wear. Go by and visit in person or shop them online as well at locker-room.biz. They are absolutely a great place to shop for men's and women's clothing. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching Tider Insider TV. Have a great night, everybody. We'll talk to you again next week.